Om Jnanatimirandhasya Gnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So here, after the four Kumaras, the four sages, cursed the two doormen at the seventh gate, the two doormen of Vaikuntha Loka, they being the devotees of the Lord also accepted it very graciously that yes, we have done an offense, a great offense at your lotus feet, so definitely we must be punished. But at the same time they were requesting that even though they go to the material world, they should not forget the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So like this, when the Lord understood about this whole situation happening at the door of Vaikuntha, and when he saw that now his devotees, the two doormen, even though he was aware that they have committed a great offense and they must be penalized, they must be punished by the sages, but at the same time the Lord is very kind. He did not want them to be vanquished forever from his Vaikuntha Loka to the material world. And then it becomes very difficult for his servant to return back to Godhead. So he wanted to save this situation, he wanted to save this aggravation. And the Lord personally, directly from his place in Vaikuntha Loka, the Lord came to the entrance, the Lord came to this seventh gate along with Lakshmi Devi. So this is being described here. Evam tadeva. Evam means thus, after all these incidents had happened, tada eva, at that very moment when this aggravation had become more and it was now about that they will be vanquished to the material world. So before anything very serious could happen, at that very moment the Lord arrived there. At that very moment Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Arvindanabha, who is also called Padmanabha or Arvindanabha, from whose navel the lotus flower grows, on which Brahma is born, and all the planetary systems are, the whole material world is situated in the, in that stem of that lotus flower. So that Supreme Personality of Godhead, Swanam Vibudhya, when he understood that his own doorman, Swanam, his own servant, Vibudhya means when the Lord understood, Sat Atikramam, that they have offended. Sat means these sadhus, these four sages. Atikramam means insulted or they have offended. The Supreme Lord, who is also called Arya Hridayaha. Arya Hridaya means one who is the delight. One who is the delight for Aryans. For one, Aryan means one who knows the spiritual values of life, one who knows the progressive values of life. they are called as Aryan. The Supreme Lord, who is the delight of Aryan, what did he do? Tasmin Yayau. At that place where this quarrel was going on, where this offense was committed, the Lord Yayau arrived there. How did he arrive? Paramahamsa Mahamuninam Anveshaniya Charanau Chalayan Sahashrihi. The Supreme Lord arrived with Charanau, walking. Charanau Chalayan. Chalayan means walking. He arrived with his feet walking. And these lotus feet of the Lord, they are actually Paramahamsa Mahamuninam Anveshaniya. They are sought after by great Paramahamsas, great sages. They sought after the lotus feet of the Lord. And the Lord, with those lotus feet which are sought after by great personalities, walked towards this place of incident, Chalayau. And how did he arrive? Sahashrihi, along with Mother Lakshmi, along with his consort Lakshmi Devi, the Lord arrived at that place. So there are few very important things which Prabhupada is mentioning in the translation as well as in the purport. So one we can see is that the Lord, he is called here as Arya Hridayaha. Arya, as Prabhupada translates here, of the righteous or of the people who know the real values of life. So there are two kinds of people, Arya, Anarya. So when Arjuna was declining from his righteous duties, Krishna told him, Anarya Jushtam, you are acting like Anarya, not Arya. So Prabhupada explains in that context what is an Aryan. So Aryan is not some kind of race, historical race. So sometimes the historians, they describe Aryan was a race. Similarly, there is another race called Dravidian. It's not a question of race like that. Anyone who understands the value of life, anyone who understands the progressive values of life, anyone who understands the spiritual importance of life, he is called as an Aryan. And anyone who does not understand the importance of spiritual life, he is called as an Aryan. So now we can easily understand from this, the Lord is the delight for Aryan. The devotees of the Lord, they take so much pleasure in every attribute of the Lord. They take pleasure in the form of the Lord. They take pleasure in activities of the Lord. They take pleasure in chanting the holy name of the Lord. They take pleasure in describing the Lord. In all the attributes of the Lord, the devotees take pleasure. So that is why the Lord is called as Arya Hridayaha. Whereas other people, the materialistic people, they don't find taste in chanting the holy name of the Lord because their taste is completely different. Their taste is about material world, sense gratification. So they are not Arya Hridayaha. They don't get delighted in the attributes of the Lord. They get delighted in Maya. They get delighted in sense gratification. So, the Supreme Lord, he is the delight for righteous people. His activities, his holy name, that is a delight for his great devotees. So that is why he is called as Arya Hridayaha. And the Lord also reciprocates. With such Arya Hridayaha and Swanam. Swanam means his own people. The Lord similarly reciprocates. So those who take pleasure in the different attributes of the Lord, those who take pleasure in the holy name of the Lord, those who take pleasure in the form of the Lord, in different attributes of the Lord, and those who have become very intimate to the Lord, Swanam, his own people. Now one may think, why for the Lord there is something called Swanam? For the Lord, everyone should be equal. Samoham sarva bhuteshu, Krishna says. The Lord is envious towards anyone, and nobody is very, very dear to the Lord. So how come it is described here? The Lord, he is called as Arya Hridayaha. The devotees of the Lord, they take pleasure, they take delight in the activities, in the attributes of the Lord. And some people are his Swanam. When the Lord understood his own people, his own doormen, Prabhupada translates Swanam here as his own servants. They have committed an offense to these great sages, right? So, how do we understand this? So Prabhupada explains this very nicely. Prabhupada explains that even though the Lord is impartial, even though the Lord is equal to everyone, He is specifically, He gives personal protection, He gives personal attention to His own devotees who are completely surrendered to Him. And Prabhupada explains that is not called partiality. Because otherwise, the devotee will think, anyway, the Lord is equal to everyone, He gives protection to everyone, so why I need to surrender completely to the Lord to be under His protection? Because one of the very important principles of surrender is the devotee does not look for anyone else for his protection apart from the Supreme Lord. It's completely dependent on the Lord. So then, the question may arise that if the Lord gives protection to everyone, because it's a fact, without Lord's protection, the living entity cannot do anything. Every living entity is protected. Every living entity is maintained. But the devotee is specially maintained. The devotee is given special protection. That has to be understood very clearly. The Lord personally protects His devotees. The Lord personally supplies the need. He is attentive to His devotee, to the necessities of His devotees. And Prabhupada says this is not partiality. No one can say that he is partial. Prabhupada gives an example. Just like the king, he gives protection to all the citizens. But he gives special protection to his own people. People who are intimately related with the king, he gives them special personal protection. Even though the king gives protection to everyone, to all the citizens. So nobody can say that the king is partial because he is protecting his own people. That is natural. It is not partiality, it is natural. So similarly, to the devotees who have no other one, no one else to look forward for such a devotee who is completely surrendered to the Lord gives protection, personal attention to his necessities the Lord gives. So that is why they are called as Swanam. They are His own people. So, that's how we are seeing. The Lord did not sit there comfortably in His palace and somehow or other try to solve through His agencies. He could have done. He need not walk personally with His own consort, Mother Lakshmi, right up to the gate of the incident where it is happening to sort out this problem, to appease these great sages so that they don't become very angry. Isn't it? And they curse them so much that they are never able to return back to Godhead. Such things should not happen, because they are about to curse now. They are already saying, you don't deserve to be here. Better you should go down to the material world. So that even though they may be cursed, still that they can be protected. So Prabhupada is saying, in Bhagavad Gita, the Lord declares that His devotees cannot be vanquished at any time. The Lord could understand that the quarrel between the doormen and the sages was taking a different turn. And therefore, He instantly came out of His place and went to the spot to stop further aggravation, so that His devotees, the doormen, might not be vanquished for good. So actually you can imagine, that is what it is explained in this verse, why this example is given. The Lord, whose lotus feet are sought after by Paramahamsa and Munina, they want to approach the Lord. They want to go near the Lord to have darshan of His lotus feet, to be under the protection of His lotus feet. And those lotus feet are themselves walking to that spot where His devotee is in problem. You see. So that is what it is said here. Tasmin yayau, at that very spot, Paramahamsa Mahamuninam Anveshiniya Charanau. Which kind of Charanau? Those Charanau, those lotus feet which are sought after by Paramahamsa Mahamuninam. With those very lotus feet, Chalayan, the Lord walked and reached to that spot. So you can imagine how much love the Lord has for His devotees, even though they have committed some mistake, even though they have committed some offense, the Lord still wants to give them protection. This is the love which this is how the Lord reciprocates with His loving devotees. You see. Actually, Prabhupada explains that a devotee, because he has taken shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord, he is never afraid of any kind of situation, any kind of disturbances, any kind of tribulation, any kind of situation. The devotee is never afraid. Why? Because his mind is completely absorbed at the lotus feet of the Lord. Prahlad Maharaj, in his prayers, he says, this material world actually is a horrible place. It's a very horrible place. But he is not afraid. Even to be in the material world, he is not afraid. Rather, he is saying, my dear Lord, rather than returning to the Vaikuntha, let me stay back in this material world, even though this is a horrible place. And I am not afraid of this material world. Why? He says, because my mind is completely absorbed in your glories. So, it's a very nice prayer. Prabhupada explains that actually a devotee, because he has taken complete shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord, he is completely absorbed in the glories of the Lord, he is not afraid of any kind of situation in the material world. A devotee being always engaged in the service of the Lord may not be expert in self-defense, but because a devotee fully depends on the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is always sure of protection by the Lord. So Prabhupada is explaining, devotee may not be expert in self-defense. It is not that he is dependent on his own power. I am very powerful, I will protect myself. He doesn't even try for that. We see that example even in the case of Durvasa Muni and Maharaj Ambrish. Maharaj Ambrish is a simple devotee of the Lord, completely surrendered devotee of the Lord. Savai Manaha Krishna Padar. He has surrendered everything to the Lord. With his mind, with his words, with his deeds, with his senses, he is serving the Lord completely. And in turn we see Durvasa Muni, he is such a strong personality, he is a mystic saint, very powerful, and he is showing his power also. With his mystic power, he immediately created a demon who should go and finish off Maharaj Ambrish. And Maharaj Ambrish did not try anything. Devotee of the Lord, actually he inherits all the different qualities of the Lord, the powers of the Lord are with the devotee. If he wants, he can also produce a bigger demon who could finish off both the demon as well as Durvasa Muni also. But he did not try any of those things. He did not misuse, or rather he did not use the different potencies which are inherent, which are there in the devotee. He did not utilize, rather he was completely dependent. That Mare Krishna, Rakhe Krishna, Mare. If Krishna wants that I should be vanquished, let it be so. And if Krishna wants to give me protection, it is up to him, let him protect me. And immediately the Lord arranged for his protection. Personally he sent his Sudarshana Chakra. So we can see that. So, Prabhupada is saying here, the devotee may not be expert in his own self-defense, that doesn't matter. But because he fully depends on the Lord, on the lotus feet of the Lord, he is sure of protection by the Lord. So Prahlad Maharaj, therefore he prays, Nevo dvije para durattaya vaitaranyas. This is called durattaya vaitaranyas. Just like Krishna says, Mama Maya Durattaya. For everyone else, this is Durattaya. It is horrible, unsurmountable, not possible to cross over this Vaitaranyas. Vaitaranyas means material existence. But Prahlad Maharaj is saying, Nevo Dvije. Udvije means agitated or becoming afraid. He says, I am not afraid of this materialistic world. Why? Twadvirya gayan mahamritamagna chittaha. Because my mind is completely absorbed in Amrita. Twadvirya gayan Amrita. Because I am always chanting, my mind is always absorbed in your glories. So therefore, being completely absorbed in you, my mind never becomes agitated or it is never afraid of this materialistic world. So, we can see Prabhupada explains that the devotee does not have to try self-protection, but if he is completely surrendered, the Lord will give protection. In fact, Prabhupada explains this very nicely. Why Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna, you declare it to the whole world. Kaunteya pratijanihi. Name bhakta pranashyati. Declare, Kaunteya, you declare to the world, my devotees will never perish. You see, there is a very important meaning to this. Prabhupada explains, Acharyas have explained, Krishna could have said directly, Name bhakta pranashyati. My devotees will never perish. But then people can point out, materialistic people can point out, why are you putting so much faith in Krishna's word? Krishna is known for breaking his promise. Krishna is known. Why are you putting so much faith in Krishna's word? So that's why Krishna is saying, you declare it, Arjuna, you declare it, my devotees shall never perish. Because Krishna can break his promise, but Krishna will never break the promise given by his devotee. Even if it is required that I may have to break my own promise, but I will never break the promise given by my devotee. And that actually happened. Prabhupada explains that actually happened. Before the war began, Krishna had promised, I will not participate in the war. I will not lift a weapon. He had promised. And now there is a conflict between his two devotees. Bhishma is another great devotee of the Lord, and he has a rasa with the Lord where he wants to fight with the Lord. He wants to challenge the Lord. He wants to see the Lord in a form of a warrior, coming, advancing towards him in anger, in rage. He wants to see the Lord. That is his rasa, isn't it? So, he wants to do that. That is his desire. The Lord has already promised, I will not lift a weapon, but he has to satisfy the desire of Bhishma. So then Bhishma plays a trick. He knows the Lord will not simply fight. He will not break his promise just like that. But if there is a possibility that I can corner his dear devotee Arjuna in such a way that he is about to be vanquished, the Lord will certainly lift a weapon. So knowing this, Bhishma decided, today either the Lord personally has to give protection to Arjuna, otherwise he is sure to be vanquished. So he made promise like this. And next day Bhishma fought so much that whole chariot of Arjuna was hither and thither, it was broken. And Arjuna was pierced with arrows. And then when Krishna saw that there is nothing else which can save Arjuna, he himself personally went, took out the wheel of that chariot and rushed toward Bhishma just to give protection to his devotee. And he broke his promise. You see. But in breaking that promise, he satisfied the desire of Bhishma, and he also, satisfied the word of his devotees. Name bhakta pranashyati. Whatever may happen, even if he has to break his own promise, does not matter. His devotee shall never perish. So Prabhupada explains that is why Krishna is telling Arjuna to declare, not himself. He is not declaring himself. Because if his devotee declares, there is no doubt that Krishna will keep that. So this is another very important thing which Prabhupada explains about protection given by the Lord for his devotees. There are many other, incidences where the Lord personally safeguards, protects his devotees. Just like Prabhupada gives an example about how when Maharaj Parikshit was in a very awkward position in the womb of his mother. And in the womb of the mother, he cannot protect himself. There is no possibility. He is completely in a very awkward position already. The Lord personally entered the womb of Uttara. The description is given. The Lord appeared just like a small thumb with this much. So there Prabhupada explains Krishna can assume any form. Anor aniyam mahato mahiyam. He can become smaller than the smallest. He can become bigger than the biggest. So the Lord, he became just like a small thumb. And he entered in the womb of Uttara. And Parikshit Maharaj was able to see the Lord in that form. Even in that awkward condition, he saw the form of the Lord. And that is why he is called Parikshit. Even when he came out of the womb of the mother, he was always examining, who is that personality whom I saw in the womb of my mother? So that's why his name is called Parikshit, examiner, one who was always examining, where is that Supreme Personality of Godhead whom I saw in the womb of my mother. So, there Prabhupada explains that the Lord is ready to take any kind of form, even in most awkward condition. The womb of the mother is actually very awkward condition. The child is in a very awkward condition. The Lord entered in that awkward condition just to give protection to his devotee. You see. So there Prabhupada explains a very beautiful understanding about the Archa Vigraha of the Lord. So I'll just read that. It is very interesting. Prabhupada says, he became visible to his devotee, Maharaj Parikshit, even in that awkward position in the womb of the mother, in a shape just suitable for his vision. So just like a thumb which was suitable for his vision. So Prabhupada is saying, there is no difference between thumb-like Vishnu in the womb of Uttara and full-fledged Narayana in the Vaikuntha Dhama, kingdom of Godhead. See, there is no difference. The Lord can take a thumb-like form if it is required in the womb of Uttara, and he can be in his full-fledged form as Vaikuntha Narayana. There is no difference. So in that context, Prabhupada explains, similarly, the Lord accepts the form of Archa Vigraha just to accept service from his different incapable devotees. You see? This is another great feature of the Lord. He has appeared as Archa Vigraha. We are all incapable. We are not capable of serving the Lord. This Archa Vigraha is called mercy incarnation. It's a mercy to the devotees. Why? He is giving us a chance. Even though we are not capable, even though our senses are not purified, the Lord appears in Archa Vigraha so that we can personally serve him. And there is no difference in serving Vaikuntha Narayana and serving the Lord in his form as deities. This is possible by the inconceivable energy of the Lord. You see? So Prabhupada explains this. By the mercy of Archa Vigraha, the form of the Lord in material element, the devotees who are in the material world can easily approach the Lord, although he is not conceivable by the material senses. The Archa Vigraha is an all spiritual form of the Lord, to be perceived by the material devotees. Such an Archa Vigraha of the Lord is never to be considered material. See? So this is another very beautiful thing Prabhupada explains. Then we see how Prabhupada explains another very beautiful incident of how the Lord protected his devotee in many other awkward conditions. The Lord gave protection even to his devotee who was in the form of an animal. Not that now my devotee has become degraded as an animal and the Lord does not listen to his prayer. So even in the form of Gajendra, when Gajendra, he was Indradumna in his previous life, he was a devotee of the Lord. But somehow because of his mistake, he had to accept the form of an elephant now. So, even in the form of Gajendra, he remembered the prayer by the mercy of the Lord. See how the Lord is merciful. Even though he has glided down from the form of a devata, he has become in the form of an animal, the Lord still protected his devotional service. The Lord gave him remembrance of the prayer which he had chanted earlier, when he was in the human form when he was in the form like a human being. He had performed devotional service. So, taking lotus flower in his trunk, he offered the flower to the Lord and recited that prayer. And immediately the Lord appeared, riding on his, on his vahana, and immediately he pulled out Gajendra from that water and killed that crocodile and saved his devotee Gajendra. So even in that awkward position, when he had to glide down to such animal form, the Lord gave him remembrance. Another incident is explained about the mercy of the Lord's protection about Maharaj Bharat. So even Bharat Maharaj, he had to glide down because of his inattentiveness in carrying out his spiritual duties. He had to become a deer. But the Lord is so protective that even when he became a deer, the Lord gave him that remembrance why he became a deer, so that he will not commit the same mistake. That's how we find that even though he was a deer, he would not go just like any other deer. He would roam around with other deer. He would not do that. Rather, he would go to the hermitages of the sages. He would hear Krishna Katha, he would hear Bhagavat Katha. So even in that form we can see the Lord gave him that remembrance. There is another beautiful incident of Ajamila, who had performed devotional service in his youthhood. But later on, when he became invalid, when he became old, even at that time the Lord gave him remembrance. And the Lord tricked him because of whatever, he had performed devotional service, that even though he had become a prostitute hunter, he had become the most criminal, he had become murderer, any kind of sinful activities he had done. But because of his devotional service in his youthhood, the Lord gave him a chance to name his son as Narayana, so that somehow or other he would chant Narayana and he would reap devotional benefit. And even at the point of death, the Lord gave him another chance, that now you purify your life, once again you come back to devotional service. So we can see, this is the mercy of the Lord, and that is what Prabhupada is saying. Krishna is telling Arjuna, declare it to the whole world, that my devotees shall never perish. So like that there are many other incidences which we can see, but time is less. So this is what is very, very important, which Prabhupada is saying, that the Lord personally, in order to give protection to his devotees, the Lord personally went with his own lotus feet, which are sought after by many Paramahamsas and many Muninams, and with his own consort Lakshmi Devi, the Lord went to the spot in order to protect his devotee. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai.